Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I'm your host, Donnie Coram, and on this show, we're going to talk about the third quarter market update. Man, it is a crazy market out there. We're going to talk about what investors should be doing during this time. Is it time to buy? Is it time to sell? How can you benefit from this crazy market? Stay tuned. It's going to be a heck of a show. Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, the show where we discuss how you can find, figure, fund, fix, and flip a foreclosure deal with a minimum target profit of $25,000 or more. We help investors all over the country to buy deals in two target markets, the Arizona market and the Colorado Springs market, where I am located right now and have spent most of my career. Over 400 flips have been completed by myself and my team in the Colorado Springs market, and now we're expanding into the Arizona market, where we're learning a lot of great stuff. We've got 3 deals going in that market right now, and we're slowly expanding that. But the market is not exactly cooperating right now, is it? We are dealing right now with one of the craziest markets I think I've seen in some time. And I don't often, bring up other people's content, not that it's not a competitive thing, but usually I've got my own stuff to say. But I think this time it really begets showing a YouTube video. Don't pop off and watch it right now. Finish the show. But there's a whole YouTube video that's talking about how the Denver market and, Denver kind of encompassing Colorado Springs, this entire region, is now being brought up in a lot of the discussions from various real estate investor sources. Long have there been sources from like Reventure, which is famous for kind of a sky is falling mentality. And I'll be honest, I love the Reventure show, so I'm not knocking it at all. But his theme is generally the same. He's kind of talking about how it's the end of the world as it relates to real estate. I'm not sure that's always the case, but I appreciate the data and the doom and gloom. And then you've got the local gloomists out there. One of my favorites is none other than Patrick Muldoon, a good buddy of mine, who we affectionately use the hashtag MulGloom to describe the doom and gloom he's usually describing the market in. And that's just kind of his wiring. Again, you got to take all this with a grain of salt. The market has definitely had a great deal of challenges over the past, let's just call it 2 years, right? Ever since the interest rate increase back in 22, we really didn't see the impact of that till late, early in 23, but it hit us pretty hard. And then 23 was bad, 24 was worse. And now here we are in 2025. We were thinking that with the new president, with Trump coming into the office, if you watch my show consistently, you know how excited I was in January during the inauguration and the election season and all that, man, we're going to get new leadership in office. There's going to be some focus on the real estate market, and things are going to improve from here. Here we are in July, actually end of July, and heading into August tomorrow, believe it or not, right? And we haven't seen those changes. Interest rates are still historically very high right now. The market is stalling out. Buyers are facing exhaustion. There's a ton of inventory in the market. It's very easy at this stage to throw your hands up and go, this real estate investing thing is not going to work. I'm going to look for greener pastures and do something else. And I certainly wouldn't blame a lot of people for feeling that way. However, I like to approach this from, is there still a way to make money in this downtrodden market? And the answer is always yes. If you understand how to navigate the market, regardless of what it's doing, whether it's going up, down, or sideways, you can make money in any market. Isn't that true? The concern is if you don't know what the market is doing, it's very difficult to navigate the next steps. So let's add some transparency here. I've got now 50 clients in the foreclosure profit system who have signed up with me, bought houses. Some are in deals now. Some got out of deals extremely profitably. We've got stories of $50,000, $60,000 profits. One of my best profits being $72,000. And then we've got the people who didn't do quite as well. They sat on the property for longer than intended. Some converted them to rentals. That really is the worst case scenario exit strategy, is if we can't get the property sold on the market, we refinance more permanent financing and convert it into a rental. Not ideal because it ties some money up, but not the end of the world if you've got a cash flowing, ideally rental that's making you money and has a a equity base in it, right? If you own the property very well because you bought it well, not the end of the world if you end up having to rent it out. It's just not our desired exit strategy because, quite honestly, it doesn't service the system very well. Okay. In the end, we need people to turn the properties relatively fast so they can get their money back out of it. That's how we feed the whole thing, going to the next deal. And obviously, if the client is making money on each of the deals, they have a high probability of coming back and doing the next deal. So I focus all of my energy, my team's energy on finding the best deal for my clients, who I'm not representing because I'm not an agent, but I'm representing in the sense that I locate the deal on their behalf. I provide the analysis that's critical when you're buying a deal because you make your money when you buy. So how you analyze that is critical. So we spend a lot of time and analysis on every single deal. Then we go to the funding stage. I'm a hard money lender here in the Colorado market. I'm working on becoming licensed in the Arizona market right now because Arizona does require that all lenders of all types, including hard money, are licensed. So working through that process today. We then connect with my construction crews, the project management team. We're setting up new project management in the Arizona market. So I'm doing something I said I would never do again. And I'm having my lovely wife, Laura, act as project management for a couple of projects out in the Arizona market. And that's not desirable either, but we're building that team in real time out there. And she's doing a bang up job as she always does. But we're going to get more project management and more things dialed in there so we can scale in that market so we don't face the burnout that we dealt with last time. But the real question that we're trying to answer today is, as we hit third quarter and as we sit in this marketplace today, does it make sense to buy a deal knowing that we are facing some of the lowest times in the marketplace? And the answer is absolutely, but you've got to buy the right deal. While that's always important in every market, it is more critical now that you're buying with a significant enough discount to warrant the future of holding onto the property a little bit longer. Buyers who are in doubt right now who want to buy a home. I will say that desirability never goes away. People always want to buy homes. It's part of the American dream. There's always somebody getting married, having another baby, downscaling because their kids have all left the house. People are in a state of flux all of the time. So there's always buyers and sellers in the market. That literally never changes. What has changed is that there are more sellers right now and less buyers. And that's a direct result of the sellers, people who are in the phase now where they have to sell. If you want to sell, I'll be frank and say now's not the time. Okay, if you're just desiring to, you're thinking about that move to Hawaii, you've been waiting on for a decade, this is probably not the time to maximize your return on your real estate. So if you just want to sell, not recommended. Interest rates are high, inventory is high. There's a good probability you're going to get less for the house today than you could in a normal market. But what is a normal market? Like, how do we know when a market is balanced? Well, it's largely tied to the inventory count, right? And I want to show you just a quick chart here of what the inventory is doing at the moment. And we get that right on the PPAR public data. And, God bless most MLSs, but I say I really appreciate Pikes Peak PPMLS. Not for a lot of things, but one thing I do appreciate is their easy access to housing data. So let's take a quick look at that. And PPR, I love you guys, right? So no offense intended or at all if you're watching. But here we are, public site here. You can just go out there and look at the residential housing sales right now. And if we're just going back a little bit, it looks relatively normal. But you have to go back a couple of years and you'll see that we're about to enter the worst of it for the year. Our peak season generally happens right around June. And this June, was not great. It was low like it was last June, but actually, it's gotten lower. We were at a low already in 23. We were at a lower low. If you look at June of 24, it dropped down about 10%. This year, we actually came up a little bit compared to last year. But when you're looking at total sales, it still is not great right now. The other thing we got to look at is total sales year to date. And that really tells a picture here where 2021 saw some major highs. 22, we were still on fire. 23, we dipped off the map quite a bit with the interest rate increase. Like I said, we really felt that effect early in 2023. It dipped further in 24 to the lowest we've seen it in quite some time. I think they said it was a 30-year low in total sales. That was, nationally speaking, we hadn't seen that few sales since 1995. So nearly 30 years when we saw that few sales nationally. It has actually come up a little bit here in 25 total year-to-date sales, but we're literally talking, 3% give or take, not enough to really move the needle, but nice to see some positive effect on the marketplace. And I do believe that was the election effect, but we're starting to see that lull is dying out a little bit. There's tons of talks of ousting, if not taking Powell out. There's people who are really upset with Jerome Powell right now, the Fed Reserve Chairman, because the perception is that he controls the rates. Not completely true. He's got under a lot of pressure from the powers that control him too, but because he's the guy in charge, they're blaming him a lot for where the market is right now. And there's a lot of pressure on him to reduce the interest rates so things can get back to a semblance of normal and buyers can come back to market. But because it's taken so long to make that move, we have a ton more inventory than we should have at this point. We've got a lot more difficulties in the system than we should have at this point. And quite honestly, it's not looking great. So let's move it back over to what should investors do during this time. I'm a real estate investment advisor, okay? My job is really to tell people when the right time to buy and the right time to sell is. And although agents offer that service as well, and there's a lot of agents who are well acclimated to the real estate investor market, most agents are only trained or experienced in the retail segment of the market, which means if you're buying a primary residence for yourself, you want to know where to put your family, school district comes into account, bedrooms, baths, things of that nature. The investor model is entirely different. Okay, we are looking at what the buy points are, how much the remodel is going to be on the property, and what the sell price should be. And then there's a days on market analysis. There's an interior design analysis. There's a series of things that most agents, I don't want to say all, but most agents are simply not properly trained in because they haven't done the over 400 deals that I've done with myself and my team. So it's a unique qualification and a unique compensation model. Whereas most agents are paid to sell you a property and they get a 3% or so commission based on the amount they sell it for. The advisory role is more of a flat fee. I get an annual flat fee. We call it the foreclosure profit system. And then when I locate a deal, I'm making an assignment fee as a wholesaler, if you will, on the project, where I make a fee on the gap between what we're buying it at and what we're going to sell it at. But in between is my profit spread on the deal. So I've got a ton of motivation to make sure that you are profitable on the deal, because if you are profitable on the deal, even after my assignment fee, then the probability that you're going to want to come back and do it again after you made 25 grand or more is pretty high. Right? So my entire team, my entire system is focused around that desire. How can we make clients money? Well, that's extremely tough when the market data is trending downwards and we're not sure exactly where it's going to go. Now, you can make money in a down market. You just got to buy further down, right, than the market is currently, and you got to sell at a down rate based on where you are today. The challenge is we don't know where the bottom is. We never really know, but usually there's some indicators that things are going to improve at this point, and there are some things that could happen in the marketplace, interest rates being a big factor, but political changes, right? Unemployment gives us some signs as to what the housing market might do next. We can track a lot of indicators that tell us where to buy and where to sell. Those indicators are working, but not in the sense that they've been working in the past. And so there's a lot of doom and gloom sentiment in the market right now that things are going to get worse before they get better. In certain markets, we're already seeing reductions. When you look at the Phoenix, market, Scottsdale specifically, it's already down about 10, 12% right now from where it was in the 23. We're actually seeing a translation to housing prices reducing. Now that's not bad for Scottsdale. I tell you that, in the last big debacle in 2008, 2009, we saw pricing drops 30, 40% pretty easy. The good news is they recovered relatively quickly. The bad news is it had a major impact, obviously, on the economics of the Scottsdale market. We're focused on both Arizona and Colorado at the same time. So as we look at the Colorado market, Denver specifically has seen a price drop 8 to 10% doesn't seem like a huge deal, but when you're talking about homes at an average price of $500,000, maybe up to $600,000, I think the median in Denver is in the mid fives right now, then now you're really looking at how much of an impact $50,000 to $60,000 could have on the market. So you got to buy a lot better than you did in the past, and you have to accept you're going to sell it for less in the past. But if you adjust both sliders of your analysis properly, there are still ways to find deals in this market. You also have the added challenge of finding construction, and that's always been the case. The upside to the foreclosure profit system is we manage the construction resources for you. And the good news, if you can find some silver lining, is because of the slowdown in the marketplace right now, finding construction resources is not as difficult as it's been in the past. We got a lot more access to construction in the Denver market, which tends to be seasonal, a lot of access to labor in the spring and summer season when it's easy to work outdoors, etc. Not so much the winter where a lot of the labor goes elsewhere to find more work. It slows down a little bit by design. It's cold outside. There are less buyers looking to buy those properties when they're done. So for a series of reasons, winter flipping is not as amiable, right? That's a big reason why we're doing the move to Arizona. The primary reason is that this business needs to service my life, right? And I am just done with winter. I've had enough of dealing with the cold. I've never been a fan since I was a child, but just coming to the point in my life where it's like, hey, we could co-locate and live somewhere else. And the beauty of real estate investing is we can work on a flip. We are currently working on several flips in the Arizona market while we're located in Colorado. So it gives you that location freedom to allow you to be different places if you structure the proper team around you to get the deal done. So answering the question, third quarter is reporting some of the worst numbers we've seen in a while, whereas we really thought we were going to see a significant improvement from 2024. We've seen a very small improvement. That's good news, but it's not enough to stay in the market. And there's a lot of cries to the powers that be to fix this problem before it gets substantially worse. And we see a lot of foreclosures hitting the market. It's a little too late for that, though. We've got a lot of foreclosures in pending status. The previous administration kind of fabricated the foreclosure numbers by propping up the foreclosures with moratoriums on the foreclosure process. So the long story short, there's a lot of foreclosures coming, whether we want that to happen or not. And that's going to provide a lot of access for investors like you and me to buy those deals at a significant discount, provided those systems are in place to get them flipped quickly and sold quickly, right? It's hard enough to locate the best deals out there. Thankfully, the system handles that for you. But then going through the administration process of analyzing them, funding them, fixing them, and selling them, it's a lot of moving parts. It's not for the faint of heart, but it can be profitable, particularly when it's done at scale. So your third quarter market report is it's crazy out there. And that's my official status on that. It is absolutely nuts. I can say in 20 years of doing this, I have never seen it quite like this. The 2008 market, I was way too young and green to really understand the dynamics of it. We've had some blips along the way. 12, 13 was kind of strange. We definitely saw it, right after, right before 2020, we saw a little bit of a slowdown, but nothing at this capacity really since the 08 market collapse. And I fear a little bit that's going to get worse. But you've probably heard the saying from Warren Buffett, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. So if people are fearful of a market dynamic, the smart investor, i.e. you, guy, gal watching this show right now, knows that now is the time to look at getting into this market and getting your system set up, even if you're doing deals that are moderately profitable, right? I don't want to report these major gains to my clients because I want to be transparent and honest. And obviously it's not a good way to sell the system, but I'd rather bring in clients who understand that this is a process that you're buying. And that process, it can function in any market. It just obviously functions better in good markets because the real estate market is cyclical by design. Okay. So we don't overpromise and underdeliver. This is not an educational system. I'm bringing you cutting edge. This is what's happening in the market right now. Inventory is high. Buyer demand is low. Rates are still far too high, but it is presenting a ton of unique opportunities in the market that we would not normally see in a more balanced market. So if you can buy extremely well, there is still money to be made. You just have to accept that the house is going to sit on the market a little bit longer, and you got to price it a little bit below what the numbers say the house is worth because it's slower, which means the profitability won't be quite what it needs to be. And that means that, both sides, my side, when I'm assigning the deal, I'm going to make a little bit less on deals right now, which sucks. And on the sell side, the client's going to make, we're targeting 25K worth of profit. Some of the clients that are bid on the market are going to see gains of 12 to 18,000 as opposed to 25,000 that we're targeting. Is that so bad? Well, listen, if you were hoping to make 25 grand and you'd picked out your new Corvette with that money, I get it. That's not great. But if you understand that the goal here is to be able to navigate in any market, whether it's up, down, or sideways, and you want to invest in a system that can help you to do that, then I am fully confident there are few, if any, systems that are quite as comprehensive as the foreclosure profit system to help you find, figure, fund, fix, and flip a foreclosure deal right in our two local markets of Colorado and Arizona. We are getting deals done. Money is going to be made. And to be honest with you, rates have to come down eventually. The government's got to step in and make this better. I really feel like we're going to see the impact of that towards fourth quarter. And ideally, by the time we are at 26, a new year's upon us, things should be stable, but my crystal ball is not working any better than yours is, right? So we really don't know what's going to happen. We do know that speculation is how profit is made. So if you've got a bit of a risk tolerance, if you love real estate to a degree and you see it as a solid investment vehicle, I would love to talk with you about your investment portfolio from an investment angle, not a sales angle. I'm not looking to make a commission on the sales that we do, but rather create an environment where you make money on your investment. I help you to do that. And so you're thankful and grateful and eager to do the next deal quickly with the foreclosure profit system. Market's crazy, but there are still opportunities, and I can help you to get into those opportunities very quickly with all the stuff that's out there. And maybe you just buy a rental portfolio. Maybe now is the time to bolster your net worth rather than looking at flipping. A lot of my clients are switching to a rental market, right? Where we're going to plan when we buy the property to go ahead and keep the property as a BRRRR. You might have heard that, the buy, rehab, rent, and repeat, the BRRRR method, allowing you to build amazing wealth with small equity plays where you're making a little bit of passive income. A couple $100 is all you can get right now with where rates are at and where rents are at, but you've got 50, 60, 80K worth of equity that you're going to be able to cash in 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, even down the road when the market stabilizes and gets back to some semblance of normal. That's not the end of the world either. As long as you buy it right and you got a plan to get out of it, no matter what the market is doing, you can make money in real estate investing, even in this third quarter crazy market. And I would certainly be honored to help you to do that. So if there are any questions, I know there's a couple people still with us today. Love to hear your comments here. Hop into the comment box wherever you happen to be watching and let's discuss it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. But guys, remember, the market moves. The one thing we know for certain is to be a market, it's got to go up, it's got to go down. We don't see markets move as quickly as the stock market. There's a lot of lagging indicators that tell us after it's happened what is going to happen in the future. We're working on those lagging indicators, and all signs point towards demand is high, but buyer affordability is at the lowest it's been in some time. And as such, people are hesitant to pull the trigger on their next home purchase, which is leading to higher inventory, longer days on market, etc. It seems bad, but if you understand the market dynamics, you can trade in this market just as effectively as an up market and make a ton of money in this market by just employing a different exit strategy. I'd love to be a part of that conversation with you. With that, this is Donnie Corum, your foreclosure deals coach, thanking you so much for tuning in each and every single week to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, and reminding you now and always, don't buy a house, buy a